Well, good morning, everyone. It's Friday, February 12th, and I'm up above Shady Valley, Tennessee, right where the Appalachian Trail crosses at Cross Mountain. If you go that way, which is northbound on the AT, you got about 20 to 22 miles, and you'll come out in Damascus, Virginia. I, on the other hand, I'm going to go across the road over here, go southbound for about 3.5 to 4 miles, and I'm going to go to Uncle Nick Grindstaff's monument. He's known as the most famous hermit in the South. There is a fascinating story behind Nick Grindstaff, and I'll share that with you when we make it over to his monument. Right now, I want to give a couple of channel shout outs. The first one is Anthony Payne. He's out of the UK. And man, his editing skills are out of this world. I mean, he puts all of us to shame. I mean, all of us. You can see a little bit of ice here. It was raining up until a couple of hours ago, so this hike was pretty iffy. I still may get wet, I don't know. But anyway, second shout out is Carl's Outdoor Adventures, or simply Carl O. I believe Carl resides in Nashville. Go check out his channel, especially his video on sausage rockets. I'll leave links to their channels below. So let's get started. You can see there's still a little bit of snow on the ground. Oh, I guess it's obvious that I'm solo today. Didn't ask Delmer. He actually did this hike by himself just a few weeks ago. I had scheduled to do it, him and Mo and myself, and Mo and I couldn't make it, so Delmer came out and did it by himself. So that's why Delmer's not with me. Mo had to start back school yesterday, so that left him out of the equation. Pretty nice little boardwalk. A lot of rhododendrons through here, or as I grew up simply saying laurels. We're going through the laurel thicket. I think I'll go ahead and tell you the story about Nick now, in case I get over to the monument and someone else may be there and I won't be too comfortable at that point. There's a couple of versions of the story. I'll give you the one that I can remember. Nick was born back in 1851, I believe, and at the age of 3 he was orphaned. He was raised by some relatives of his, and I think he had 2 or 3 siblings. Anyway, at the age of 21, which was a legal age then, he inherited a portion of his family's farm. And he tried his hand at farming for a few years. That didn't work out very well for him. So he headed out west to Missouri. And it said while he was out there, now here's where there's a couple of different versions of this also, but anyway, he either fell in love with a young woman and they married and she died shortly thereafter, or she left him at the altar and ran off and married another. It was also said that while he was there, he was robbed and he was beaten. Whatever the case, it changed Nick's life forever. He eventually made his way back out here to Tennessee, and he did have some money. So he came up on top of this mountain, bought a piece of property, and it said he built a small cabin. When I say small, it says 8 by 8. So anyway, like I said, when he came back, he was changed. He didn't want to have anything to do with anybody. So whatever it was, it really messed him up. So he pretty much become a recluse, or hermit. Anyway, like I said, he came up to the top of the mountain, had a small cabin, like 8 by 8. And his only companions, he had a milk cow, says he had an ox, he had his trusty dog Panther, and get this, a pet rattlesnake. Anyway, he made 1 or 2 trips off the mountain a year for supplies. One year, when it was about his regular time to make an appearance, he didn't show up. So after a few days to a week, a couple of his so-called friends, he didn't really have any friends, but some of the people that he actually conversed with, when he came off the mountain, they got worried. So they came up to the top of the mountain to check on him. When they got to his cabin and looked in, it was obvious that poor old Nick had passed away, and apparently it had been several days. Well, they started to go in to retrieve his body, but his dog Panther would have no part of it. He wouldn't let anyone near him. Again, here's where there's 2 versions of this. One is they finally subdued the dog enough to tie him up to a tree to where they could take care of Nick's body. The other version is they were forced to shoot and kill the dog, and later buried him beside of Nick. Well, that's the part that that I was told, that was supposed to be the truth, but who knows. Anyway, they tore down his cabin, and supposedly the stone that was his chimney is what they used to erect the monument to him. Now here's a little bit of the eerie part of the story. When they rerouted the Appalachian Trail through here, there's been tales upon tales of AT hikers that have camped near the monument, that in the middle of the night they've been awoken to a blood-curdling howl of a dog. And there has been reports of red-eyed dogs near the monument. Now you make of that what you will, but makes for a good story either way. Anyway, I hope that was halfway interesting. Well, there are several look-offs along this section of trail, but they're going to be fogged in this morning. There was so much ice a couple miles back that was falling out of the trees. I was starting to get wet, so I went to get into my pack to get my poncho. It wasn't there. Luckily though, I always pack one or two of these little old emergency disposable ones. So I'll put that on, and it's kept me pretty dry. There was one aspect of Nick's story that I'm going to tell you now, because I may forget it later. It was said when he came back from Missouri that he had quite a bit of gold. Don't know if that's true or not, but you know, he didn't need much money being a hermit, only to come down a couple times a year and you know, resupply. So it's the legend goes that all of his gold is buried up here near his monument, or somewhere up here on this mountain. So I'm not gonna have time to look for it today. But anyway, thought I'd share that with you. It's finally warmed up a little bit. I just looked at my GPS. I came 3.3 miles, so I've got about 3/10 of a mile to go to get to his monument. Okay, AT going that way. Up here's Nick's monument. So he's buried under this slab right here. Supposedly his dog Panther is too. Now these stones, I was told or read somewhere, to erect this monument to him, they were part of his chimney to his cabin. Let's see here. If you can read this. Uncle Nick Grindstaff, born December 26th, 1851. Died July 22nd, 1923. Down here at the bottom, the epitaph says, lived alone, suffered alone, and died alone. Someone's left 2 quarters there. Anyway, that's the famous hermit, Uncle. Yeah, and they just always seem to refer to him as Uncle. Don't know why, but anyway, Uncle Nick Grindstaff. So he's been buried here, what, close to 100 years. July 22nd, 1923. Almost 98 years. Can you imagine being camped out? There's a lot of good camping areas. I mean, a lot of flat tent areas around here, and I guess for hammocks it don't matter. And you hear that blood-curdling howl of a dog in this area right here. There's some writing down there too, but I can't make out. Looks like it might be his birth date. And here's a vine wreath connected to a chain. First time I was here was, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago. I think maybe this is my 3rd time here. First time I came across it, I wasn't aware that it was here. Now, I mean, you can Google anything. In fact, I suggest you all Google this, and you can get the many versions of the story. I guess it's fitting that it's a overcast, dreary day to come out here and share this with you. Usually back down that way there's a lot of good views, but like I say, today there's not going to be any. Now usually, as most of you know, in my videos with 15 or 20 pictures at the end, there's not going to be too many today, except for maybe what pictures I take of this. Well, anyway, I'm going to stay here for a couple of minutes and head on back, because it's already about 1:30 in the afternoon. I got a late start. Well, almost back to the Appalachian Trail parking lot. It's a little over 7 miles total on this hike. I hope y'all enjoyed the story of Nick Grindstaff. I'm not the world's greatest storyteller, but I hope it was interesting enough for you. Once again, thanks for coming along with me. And as always, there's another one in the books. And until next time.